Hello, my name is Muriel Leung, and I'm the author of the recently released How to Fall in Love in a Time of Unnameable Disaster, as well as other books, Imagine Us to Swarm and Bone Confetti. And I'm here today as the Black Mountain Institute 117 Degrees Fellow, and I'm here to answer your questions. Sorry, one second. It looks like it's about to rain. You were saying? In How to Fall in Love in a Time of Unnameable Disaster, the acid rainstorms come every Tuesday in New York City, leaving the protagonists, Mira and Mal, stranded in their respective apartments. They've also just broken up, so kind of awkward as they move apart. Mira moves in with her mother in the Lower East Side, and Mal's stuck back in Queens. Hijinks ensue. There's cockroach ghosts, headless men, and other kinds of love stories and heartbreaks that permeate throughout the novel, acid rainstorms being the least of their concerns after all. Actually, I think it's stopped raining, so I'm just gonna close this. I don't need that anymore. Okay. I think that the idea of the apocalypse is always about endings and beginnings. And arguably, we're in different kinds of apocalypses right now, right? We're told that we're in constant states of emergency and crisis. And it feels like with so many world endings, we also have to talk about beginnings too. And I think the definition of apocalypse is in different terms. Like it's about revelation, new world, imagination, too. And so, how can we think about our endings as a kind of beginnings? How can we channel ideas about survival and resiliency and think about the sort of structural inequalities that permeate through our lives and challenge them in order to imagine new structures that can be even more resilient, more empowering, and change the ways that we think about the inequities that exist in this world. Things don't have to be just as they are. The power structures that exist currently don't have to stay as they are. We can imagine new possibilities for us in the future. We don't live in isolation, and the ways in which we participate in community building, skill strengthening, lending out our skills, whatever they may be, and they don't always have to look like fighting off zombie hordes or great archery skills, but sometimes they can just be as simple as like cooking for your neighbor, taking care of folks who are not safe to be out in the streets anymore because of the kinds of state violence that exists nowadays. I think if you've ever been through something so tragic that the only available response to you, other than just once you get through the pain and the deep crying and the sobbing, I think all you're left with is laughter in the end. But I think the idea that you can still make some very ordinary mistakes, even in a time of high crisis, maybe it's a good reminder that even in the now, when we can still, go outside without fear of, being assailed by acid rainstorms currently, we are experiencing different kinds of disasters. So, what are ways in which we can also find humor in what we do and allow that to be a kind of portal for what happens next? Because there's always going to be a next, right? Even with endings. I think that the desert, maybe on the surface, looks hot and barren, but underneath there's quite a lot of life too. So, and also there's a lot of mixed terrain and climates too, like within the desert. That's not just hot, hot, hot all the time. What I know about the desert, or what I've learned about the desert, is that there's a lot more than meets the surface. Like literally, that there's a lot happening underground too. And I think that that speaks for also the kinds of organizing and community building happening among the people. I feel very lucky to be able to come here to Las Vegas during this time and to be able to be host to some of these conversations that so many community members are already having. Well, currently for BMI, I'm working on an essay collection tentatively called the misfortunes, and it's around this idea of luck or maybe lack of it, related to Asian American political life and its evolution. The UNLV library here is fantastic for research around these areas related to Nevada history, especially the history of gambling, and also its Asian American history. So I've been talking to the oral history archives here. The people who run here are so great, and they've collected interviews from Las Vegas residents throughout, many of whom are Asian residents representative of the growing eclectic Asian communities in Las Vegas. On July 19th, I'm hosting our Dangerous Horizons Symposium, which features really amazing set of Asian and Pacific Islander writers talking about the connections between race and place. What does it mean to be Asian and Pacific Islander writers, thinkers who are invested in the sense of the continuation of place, of home, of belonging, and creating more resilient communities in a time of great climate disaster and change. I think that it's important to ask these questions about what are our obligations, not only to land, non-human life forms, greater ecosystem that we live in, but also to each other too, and that our ways of creating a more sustainable sense of living here on this earth also will extend to our future generations too. Sorry, I don't mean to cut this short, but I think it's raining again, and it feels like it's going to be a heavy one. I'm going to go. Thanks so much for this interview. Joshua, you should probably go too. It doesn't look good out there. Bye.